Hey, what's up guys, Jaeky here. I'm a top 400 Radiant Valorant player, and today I'm going to be unboxing and reviewing the Simgot Supermix 4. This review is going to be gaming focused, primarily focused on competitive TAC FPSs, such as Valorant. So I'm actually really excited for this review. If you guys remember, a while ago I made a review of the Kiwi Orchestra Lite IEMs, and I was switching off of the Moondrop Arias to the orchestra lights, but I ended up switching off the orchestra lights just because the sound signature wasn't really for me. There wasn't really enough punch in the bass. So ever since then, I've been searching for an upgrade to my IEMs, and I love using IEMs over headsets or headphones for gaming. The main advantage with IEMs is definitely the comfort factor. You don't have to worry about getting a headset dent, and also now that it's summer, you don't have to worry about any ear cups getting hot around your ears. So for that reason alone, ever since I switched to IEMs, I can't really see myself going back to traditional gaming headsets. So yeah, Simgot did send this out for review, but as always, that does not affect my opinion of it. The Supermix 4 is a newly released IEM from Simgot, and they're currently retailing for $150 USD. And here are all of the technical specifications of the IEM on the screen right now. And here you can also see the frequency response on the back of the box. This is following a Harman target with sort of like a U emphasis. Again, I am by no means an audiophile, so this review is purely going to be from the subjective side, mainly again focused on gaming, but I will touch on the music listening experience as well. So opening up the box here, you are immediately presented with the IEMs here, and you can see the design of the faceplate. Very, very elegant design here. You have a black resin shell with an aluminum gray faceplate, and you also have this little gold circle design that is interrupted with a little vent there. And yeah, I think these are some really fantastic looking IEMs. In the accessory box, you get your little carrying case here. This is a sort of leather material carrying case, actually very nice and solid. Get your little quality control card, as well as your user manual. One thing that I do want to mention about these IEMs is that the Supermix 4 do have very low impedance and high sensitivity. So that means that you need to watch what you are plugging these IEMs into, because depending on what you plug the IEMs into, depending on your source of music, it can change the frequency response of these IEMs. So that is something to keep in mind, is that these IEMs are on the more sensitive side. Okay, so in the carrying case, you get your cable. This is a very nice cable. It's silver plated with your traditional 0.78 millimeter 2-pin connectors terminating to a 3.5 millimeter. Yeah, this is a very nice cable. Doesn't seem like the type to get tangled up, and you also have your little memory loops here around the ears. So yeah, in terms of stock cables, this one's really solid. There's no need really to upgrade the cable, I would say, to a third-party cable. And in the box, you also get 3 different size tips as well. You have your small, medium, and large. These are just basic silicone tips. Okay, so as for the comfort of these IEMs, they do fit very well in my ear. They are a lot bigger than my Moondrop Arias, but that's to be expected, as the Moondrop Arias are a very small IEM and one of the most comfortable I've used. That being said, these are still very comfortable. They are not as big as the Orchestra Lights. So the Kiwi Orchestra Lights are definitely bigger than these IEMs, and they definitely don't trap pressure like the Orchestra Lights do, since these are vented. Although it is a single vent, there is still a little bit of pressure that gets trapped, but nowhere near as much as something like the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Light. The isolation on these IEMs are really good if you have the right seal. I am using the medium tips currently on the Supermix 4. Okay, now let's talk about my experience using these for music listening really quickly. Just from a subjective point of view, again, I am by no means an audiophile, but I'm just going to give you guys my general opinions of the sound listening to music. I have the Supermix 4 plugged straight into my Go XLR Mini, with my Go XLR Mini set to 70% volume, so plenty of headroom for extra volume, but I found 70% was more than enough. One thing I do want to mention is typically I use this ground noise loop isolator when I plug IEMs into my Go XLR to get rid of that white noise, because my IEMs are low impedance, so I find that this ground noise loop isolator gets rid of that static noise. Since the Supermix 4 is so sensitive to the source, when I plugged in the ground noise loop isolator, it actually made the sound signature of the Supermix 4 a lot worse. It pretty much just boosted the bass an extreme amount, and it almost made the Supermix 4 hard to listen to. So that is something to keep in mind. Like I mentioned earlier, you have to be very careful with the source that you're plugging these IEMs into. But plugging the Supermix 4 straight into my Go XLR Mini gets the desired sound frequency, and so far I've really been enjoying it for music. The low end is very rich and the sub bass is very well extended, especially when listening to EDM, which is my favorite genre that I like to listen to. When listening to EDM, songs like Worlds Away by Dabin, when those three like sort of kicks hit in on the bass, I don't know what it's called, but that part of the song, this part right here, when that part hits on the Supermix 4, you can really just feel that sub bass punching. It's a very punchy sub bass with good texture. I would say the sub bass is very controlled, but overall the low end on the Supermix 4 is very well rounded and there is a ton of texture there in the low end. The mid-range is very nice as well. When listening to female vocals like something like Sabrina Carpenter's Espresso, the vocals are very in your face and forward. If you're not into that, then you might not like this sound signature. The mid-range, both male and female vocals came across very nicely. The highs on the Supermix 4 are a little bit more emphasized, so if you're sensitive to treble, that might be something that you might not like. With that being said, it's not like extreme amounts of high end, but there is that hint of brightness in some songs that are maybe cymbal heavy or treble heavy that you might find fatiguing. The Supermix 4 definitely aren't as analytical or clinical as the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite, but I actually prefer the sound signature of the Supermix 4 just because they sound a lot more well-rounded, a lot more bass. The texture of the bass on the Supermix 4 is a lot better than the Kiwi Orchestra Lite and a lot more punchy as well, which is why I actually prefer the Supermix 4 for music listening. When compared to something like the Moondrop Aria, obviously they're going to be night and day. The detail retrieval on the Supermix 4, as well as the soundstage and just overall sound reproduction, is a lot better on the Supermix 4. Touching on the soundstage is pretty wide. The instrument and vocal separation on the Supermix 4 is very good, and the imaging as well, I really have no complaints about. So very solid imaging and soundstage on the Supermix 4. Okay, now let's talk about the Supermix 4 for competitive gaming. So I use these in Valorant for a little bit. I use them both in deathmatch and actual games, and I really had no complaints about the Supermix 4. Like I said earlier, the soundstage is fairly wide, and the imaging is very good as well, which leads to very nice footstep separation, so you can really hear and gauge the distance of footsteps relative to your position. One thing I do want to note is when I was using the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite, it felt very anemic. So when I was shooting guns in Valorant, like the Vandal or the Phantom with the Kiwi Ears Orchestra Lite, it really felt like those guns just had no punch to them just because the bass was so lackluster. With the Supermix 4, you're definitely getting a more immersive experience with those guns. You can hear the bass a lot more. And it's not like that drowns out the footsteps either, because even though you get more bass on the Supermix 4s, you still get that precise imaging with the treble. With the footsteps, you can still hear very clearly, even though the bass is very punchy on the Supermix 4. So before the Supermix 4 came, I was switching between my Moondrop Arias and my HyperX Cloud 2 headset, and the Supermix 4 is definitely an upgrade to both of those in pretty much every aspect. The sound reproduction of the Supermix 4 will definitely be better than any sort of cheap gaming headset that you can get on the market currently, and that on top of the comfort benefits that you get from an IEM just really make this a no-brainer. So for $150 USD, I would highly recommend the Simgot Supermix 4, whether you're using it for music listening or gaming. I personally really like the sound signature of the Supermix 4. But yeah, that's pretty much it, guys. That was my unboxing and review of the Simgot Supermix 4. Again, huge shout out to Simgot for sending these out for review. And if you like this video, make sure you leave a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will see you in the next one. Peace.